I won't be able to do it. Sorry. Let's get it shared, like, subscribed, all that. We are not going to have a slow Friday night. If we have a slow Friday night, we're going to pop smoke. Get it out there. Seriously, folks, get it out there. Share, like, subscribe. Let's get it going. Come on. It's Friday. It's Red Friday. It's a good show. Get it out there. Make sure to spam the like and the heart button. Get that thing up. Wow.
Hi, Matthew. It's Judge Janine, and I wanted to congratulate you on the Don't Unfriend Me show at the Dumb Show. I was thinking about that whole thing the other day when I thought it was right after Donald Trump was elected that everybody on the left started unfriending anyone on the right. So I'm glad you're calling them out. You've got a great name for the show. And I hope that you're true to the values, conservative values, Republican values, and that you call those people out. I think it's great. And I know you've got 135,000 followers. I hope you get a lot more. And just keep the faith. Keep fighting. I think we may get America back. But in the meantime, we've got a steep hill to climb. And you're one of the fighters, one of the patriots. So thank you for what you're doing.
Almost 150,000, to be honest. My name is Matthew Spear. I'm the host of Don't Unfriend Me. Good to see you. That over there is Leroy. Leroy, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
That's good. You did well. You're still short again. Do you need to like listen? You gotta raise the game. Are you using this for like OnlyFans when I'm not here?
That's exactly what I do. What I do is I kind of put my feet in the air so I can get my walnut out to the audience. Yeah.
Dude, it's way too early to be talking about your walnuts. I'm just no recorded show yet. And I think this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the live show. And I think I'm going to start releasing the recorded show in the morning or after the live show. That way it stays on top of the feed because I want the recorded show to continue to drive the site. Leroy and I were just talking. I'm going to put 2 weeks into this with everything I have to find, something that can kind of keep the thing afloat. And if we don't have that, then I'm going to start doing Don't Unfriend Me in the morning, be up at crack 6 and be with you on your way to work in the car live, then probably do an afternoon live and then an evening live. I mean, it's just, it's got to be full commitment, right? Got to put everything into this because I think that's the problem. It's nice at 8:30, but there's people who don't get the show at that time because they're watching somebody else, which is completely fine. I understand it's Friday night. Would somebody have had more time at 8 o'clock in the morning when they're driving into work? Some people are like, no, I would never do the mornings, and that's fine. But there is a large demographic of people who will.
Exactly.
So, I think it comes down to either I need to bump off the evening show, let Leroy and Amy take it, maybe bring in Antoinette or Alex and have them three just kind of do their thing. And then I hit the AM and then randomly come in at nights, whatever it is, but expanding the channel. Anyway, welcome. So we're going to play the recorded show tonight because I think it's going to bring up a lot of dialogue. And I think it's important to talk about, right? Because this is a healthy balance of going after Democrats and also a little bit of calling out Republicans, right? The reason why I did this, Leroy, and get your thoughts is Marjorie Taylor Greene, who I want to like, right? I'm told I have to like her. I'm told you have to like her. She's a Republican. She's the new type of party. She's Trump. And you know what? I don't fucking like her. I don't like her. And it's not because Boebert I like more than Marjorie Taylor Greene, surprisingly enough, because Marjorie Taylor Greene is a hypocrite in my eyes. And I don't have a problem with her calling out the president during the State of the Union because someone needed to. And she got all the Republicans to do it. And I'm like, okay, fine. So she can play the evil doer on that case. But she hunts down people and freaking gets in their faces and records them and just puts them, like she did it to David Hogg. She's done it to several Democrats, and she has no problem during off hours just speaking her mind. And I got to give her credit for that. But when it happened to her the other day, she's like, I was victimized at dinner and I was oppressed and and I'm like, you can't have it both ways. You don't be a hypocrite. You do it all the time. And I think that's the whole thing that bothers me most about people is when they are hypocrites. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, it's one of the, if you're basically doing your best to call out the hypocrisies of the left, then you can't be totally offended when they come after you doing the same tactics. And that's part of the problem is that, to your point, if that's how you do things, is to show up in someone's face with a cell phone camera and ask them a bunch of gotcha type questions, then you should be expected that it's going to happen to you at some point. And don't be a wuss about it. Right.
Right. That's my point. It has nothing. Well, I didn't say I would do it at 8:30 Eastern. I was just, once again, listen, there's a 3-hour difference in time. There's nothing I can do about that. 8:30 is really good right now for people because it's a wide breadth. But honestly, that's what it's going to take. It's going to take expansion. And we're going to have to realize that some people aren't going to be able to get it on the AM. But I can also post content in the AM, right? I can record something for 10 minutes, throw it up quickly, and it can be about a topic right now. And that at least helps viewers in the AM who are surfing. I'm just alienating my audience in the day and in the afternoon who only see avatars or only see, some memes and stuff. That's not it. But anyway, Marjorie Taylor Greene, it's like I said, there's some things I really like about her. I love how she stood up against the Democrats. I love how they stood up against the speaker. That was good for me. I like that. But there's just other things that she does that I don't like. And I guess that's with everybody. And this video that I'm going to show you about Zelensky and Ukraine is very much like that. Now, I did some research on some numbers and went back in history and kind of, these Democrats talk about this party switch that took place. And everyone knows it's bullshit. I've pointed it out. You've pointed it out. But there is a party switch
I've
that
asked
took
quite
place.
a few people about that online, like in certain discussions. I'm like, okay, yeah, fine. I'll buy into this party switch. Man, just tell me who it was and when. And then nobody can ever come up with any sort of, it was this year, these people. And then exactly to
it's like climate change.
I'm like, that's one person. That's not a change.
It's climate change, right? It used to be global warming. Now it's like, it's snowing. Okay, now it's climate change. Well, now this isn't a single year thing that happened with the Dixiecrats. This has been a generational change. Hence why it took 20 years for anyone to vote Republican in the Southern 13 right here. Okay, so this is a very similar situation to that in the sense that I believe there has been a party switch in the fundamentals of this. When it comes to war and conflict, it used to be that the kind of the war hawks used to be in the Republican Party, and the Democrats were all about peace, love, dope in the 70s and the 80s. A lot of them were against the Iraq war. I mean, think about this switch that's happened. Now Democrats are bloodthirsty. They're putting the Ukrainian flag outside their house. They want to spend $150 billion fucking annually on Ukraine. Pardon my French. And I'm baffled. But when you look from a populist sense, right, and more of a neocon sense, that was usually a neoconservative standpoint. There's been a switching. Currency, digital currency was never, ever a Democrat talking point. Citizens United, which they originally put in, which was restrictive government by allowing corporations to donate ad nauseum through the free speech clause as them being citizens as a corporation. Well, that's not a Democrat talking point. Democrats have really switched. They've just done things that are not inherent to their party. And it kind of blows my mind. Same thing with open borders. They were never that way. That was Reagan who did that. That was not Clinton, Obama. They were all close the borders. It baffles me. Even LGBTQ rights, they're predominantly against the gay and lesbian community up until Obama's administration. Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's interesting when you look back over the last at least 10 presidents, right? During their campaign part of the workup to any election cycle, it always seemed like the border and the wall and illegal immigration were always a hot topic. Obama talked about it.
Right.
Clinton talked about it. George Bush Sr. and Jr. Reagan talked about it. They all talked about it, right? They all said that at some point they supported some level of enforcement of the border. And
Right.
this is really the first time I can think of ever, because Joe never came out of the closet and because it was Corona season. This was really the first time ever that
Basement.
was never
Leroy,
really addressed.
Basement. Closet has negative connotation there, big guy. Don't be a homophobe.
Did I say that? I didn't
Yeah,
mean
you
that.
said
I
closet.
did mean basement.
Well, Joe couldn't come out of that after his nurse story. We don't know if that was a male or female nurse, so we don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
My point was that was the first time that I can think of that during any campaign season that it was never addressed. The border was never brought up to say, look, I think, control of the border is a good thing. Everyone else did it. Everyone.
Right.
Anyway.
No, you're absolutely right. It's just, listen, we're going to watch this. I want everyone to kind of give it a look. And we'll have a little bit of show afterwards. And guess what? I don't feel bad anymore about how many people are on live. Ben Shapiro was on before me. He had 432 people on.
That's it?
That's it.
Wow.
So I'm pretty much where I need to be. And he's got like 2.5 million followers more than I do. So it's just the way it is. If that camera keeps doing that, you need to let me know and I'll buy you a new camera.
What's it? Oh, did it go fuzzy
again? Yeah.
So that's probably the mic. I think it's
focusing. It is the mic. You're too far back. There it is. There it is.
All right.
What you need to do is go into the settings and turn off autofocus, turn on manual focus, set it, and then it won't do it anymore. That's okay. It's all right. All right, let's get to this. By the way, hi everybody. I'm gonna skim. I've already been reading a lot of the comments. Ramon, Michelle, Lee, Dale, Colleen, Mike Blankman, Rhonda, Kristen, Karen, Angie, Jessica. Happy Friday, Jessica. Chris, why are you aiming on a shotgun? Are you using slugs?
Wait, what?
Well, he's in the prone knee and elbow position on his shotgun, and I'm wondering why he's aiming a shotgun.
It might have been slugs.
It's got to be slugs. I mean, you're not aiming with buckshot, are you? And the question is why? I don't know. It's a long question, Chris. He's, your relative. I just wanted to find out. Truck and Tinkerbell, hello. Carol, hello. James, JD, Thomas, Debbie, Judy's in the house.
I will say this. I threw a red dot on mine. I put a hollow sun because it's got a ring that's supposed to be for a set range.
Yeah.
So I guess I could see it.
I have no problem putting a red dot on a especially a home defense 12 gauge.
Yes.
The muzzle flash is a bitch on a shotgun inside. So I'd like to have a little bit of filter looking down that thing, and unless you put a brake on it, but what's the point? It's a 12 gauge. I don't, anyway, whatever. I don't mind red dots. You just better be able to shoot without it because they fail all the time. That's why I will not put one on my concealed carry.
I don't think I could. I think you need to learn how to use the sights that come with it.
Yeah, it's the profile. And second, what I love about my Glocks and I love about my HKs is I've got the glow in the dark optics on every weapon I own.
Tritium? Yes.
Yep. So that's on every weapon I own. Doesn't matter. So if it's nighttime, I'm fine. My flashlight will do the work for me, and I don't need it. You're talking about 10 feet. If you have to close your eyes and look down the barrel and aim, then you haven't fired your weapon enough at 10 feet. You should be able to do a 5-inch grouping center mass at 10 feet without even lining up your optics. If you can't, then you're not shooting enough. Anyway, Chris, Janet. No, Amy. No, Amy's off tonight. She needs some time with the family. Amy's been busy. She's just, it's literally been knucking futs with the real estate going on. She's just too busy. Astros whoop the Braves. Got to pump those numbers up.
Rookie
Michelle, Jeanette, Amy
numbers.
is here. Ramon, Danny. We already said hi to Danny. Chevelle, Frederick, Dawn, Roxanne. You don't have to turn out the red light. Walk the streets for money. You don't even think it's right. Roxanne.
Would you do me a favor and sing that on your OnlyFans account? That would be fantastic. That would
clothes or no clothes?
No clothes, obviously. Just
stop
peanut
saying
butter.
that, dude. I'm gonna get like 7 messages about my OnlyFans account. I swear to God, I got like 2 messages the other night. It's ridiculous,
Just
man.
peanut butter. That's all you need.
Benjamin and a loving dog. Let's see. Yeah, we got a whole bunch of people on.
Yeah,
everybody's flashing. I don't believe she
balloon up a little bit. Yeah,
I don't believe she went to someone's table while they were eating. Just saying, yeah, but Debbie, that's splitting hairs. Who cares? It doesn't matter. You're inviting it upon yourself. Okay, so let me give you an example. I was at breakfast the other morning, and our good friends had just left. Who we had breakfast with the PFC flag owners, and we went to coffee with the cops. And I had somebody come up to my table when my wife's in the bathroom, and they said, "Hey, aren't you that dumb guy?" And I said, "Yeah, that's sure. Well, is it with a B or without?" And they said, "Oh, it gets without a B." And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, I hate your viewpoints." And I said, "Awesome. Aww. What do you hate about them? And what specifically do you hate?" "All of them." And I said, "Okay, can you just give me one?" And he said, "No, I can't." I said, "Well, how many shows have you watched?" And he goes, "I haven't." I said, "Well, how many podcasts have you listened to?" "I haven't." "Well, have you disseminated the page and read through it?" "No. I just saw it and I looked at you and I knew you were a Trump tard."
Wow.
And I said,
so
okay,
he was an intellectual.
Right. And I said, "Oh, well, that's great, man. Thanks for, so I take it you're going to come back and be a fan." "Yeah." And he goes, "No." And I said, "All right, well, I appreciate it." And at that point, the conversation was over because I said it was over. Now, if he would have decided to escalate and try to get under my skin in a way that he could, like teeing off on my daughter or my family or saying something stupid to a friend in the restaurant, then that is a different conversation. So I understand what Debbie's saying. Yes, going to a table is different. And then what you say is different, but it doesn't, you're still inviting it upon yourself. When you go out and you engage people at a level that's as disrespectful as she does, which it is, and then it happens to her and she somehow starts clutching her pearls.
Right.
She's setting the rules. She didn't say, "Oh, no, this can only be done on the open street on to and from to the Capitol building." She didn't say you have to be a person in the limelight. She said, "You can approach me at any time the way I approach other people by doing that." Do you understand? So there's no rules to the event. The moment that I told that guy it was over, and if he continued to persist, well, I have drawn the line in the sand and have said, this is now done. Anything you say up and after this point will be held against you in a way that's not amicable. Basically, I told him to go fuck himself.
Thou shalt fornicate thyself.
Right. Thou shalt go play hide and go fuck yourself. Right. So, and the reason I said that is because you got your piece in, you got your little jab, you got the talk show podcast guy. But the moment that you want to escalate, now that I know you're an ignoramus who's never watched my show, your opinion is strictly personal and you are trying to insult me. And congratulations, anything you say after this very, very well may. Does that make sense? So if Marjorie Taylor
kind of a common thing too. I mean, really, when you think about it, we often hear of people who will hyper criticize points of view from the right, even if they come from someone like a Thomas Sowell or a Ben Shapiro or anybody who's fairly conservative, right? But we'll say somebody in the media who's written books, right? They will say, "Oh, that person's that's just stupid." Well, have you read any of his books? Well, no. Well, how do you know? How do you know?
I just know. Well, here's the example. This lady came on Twitter, my ad, and she goes, you're just full of hot air and lies. And I said, really, which video made you feel that way? And she didn't have one. And I said, well, so let me get this straight. AKA, you haven't watched any of my content. And she goes, I'm a journalist. I have a bachelor's degree and 2 extended degrees. And I'm like,
I don't give a
what the fuck does that have to do with anything? So what you're saying is only a 6-year degree gets to have an opinion? Great. So what do we get to do? 87% of the population gets left out from having an opinion. And I said, and you can't even complete a sentence. You're not even grammatically using syntax or any punctuation. And you're a journalist? Did they have English in your school? Because I went to a journalist college. I'm like, what the F's a journalist college? There's no such thing. You mean you went to college and majored in journalism? Yeah, that's what it was. Well, obviously your degree is doing wonders for your career. So congratulations. It's allowed you to troll some guy on Twitter and have an opinion that's completely unfounded and uneducated. Congratulations. I hope this does well for you. I mean, come on, man. What's wrong with people?
Right.
You suck, you jackass.
Karen says, I don't like that she sent a tweet and made that woman who lost 2 of her children to fentanyl. She made it political. Yeah, and the only thing about that, Karen, was I was thinking about Amy the entire time, and it killed me.
Yeah, I did too.
Karen, how old is that picture? Karen Vera, can I get an answer to that question? Leroy, you go to the bottom and tell me how old Karen is.
The phone's a little bit further away. I don't want to move now.
That's okay. Karen, let me know.
Gonna jack it up.
How old's Karen? Just saying. There's a reason why I want to know. Carol says, hello, Benjamin.
You naughty boy.
Oh, she's pretty. She's a pretty lady. She's gorgeous. Now, if it's from 1970, well, then, hey. But if she's older, then I can say that. But if it's recent, then I don't think that's appropriate. I think that's wrong. I'm a married man and that's wrong. But if that's from 1970, then I'm fine with that because you were a looker when you were younger. I'm not saying you're not a looker now, but trust me, I just figured I'm going to stop. All right.
I'm just going to shut up now. Yeah.
I'm going to shut up now. I didn't vote for him. She says, 10 gauge slugs. There you go. Slugs. That makes sense why you're looking down the old barrel. Wendy Moore says, hey. Hi, Wendy.
Everyone knows it's windy.
I had a
I will never watch that and not think of Breaking Bad ever again.
How could you not? Except for Bryan Cranston's being a complete yutz. Why do people in movies look like they're passing a stone when they fire automatics? I don't know if I've noticed that. I don't know. Just ask Alex Murdaugh about guns. Oh yeah, that family. I mean, gosh, they're like the mob. Hey Matt, the hockey guys breaking their sticks was so freaking funny. It's kind of funny is everybody's like, oh, the Colorado Avalanche didn't make any moves. Sometimes the best move is not to make a move at all. I think we're almost done. I feel it has a lot to do with how MSM interprets things. Matt Leroy, do you like my new profile picture? Bacon, beer, guns, and freedom. Yes, Amy, I was going to call it out, and unfortunately I didn't. I'm sorry. Debbie says, I don't like that she's taking Maxine Waters' playbook. I don't either. Kristen says, finally, mask mandates are ending in Washington State. Thank God. Really? I can't believe they've still been going on. Uh-oh, Leroy's gone. So you've got a 6-year degree to prove your ignorance. Exactly. Journalism is dead. I've been sharing the shite out of your stuff on Twitter. I know you have, buddy. Thank you. It's not from the 70s, from the 80s. Okay, well, there you go, Karen. Just saying, Karen, I can say, listen, if you can't say that somebody's a good-looking person, what the hell type of world are we in? All right. Well, now not to watch I know not to watch it, Breaking Bad tonight. Breaking Bad's amazing. Who, me? Yeah, Karen, we're talking about you. Yeppers, upstate as well. All right. Leroy's coming back. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to dive into this show tonight. And I think this is specifically pretty interesting, right? Because this is going to take something that you've probably heard and you're like, oh my God, Zelensky said this, but Republicans took it out of context. But it doesn't get any better with context, which is an interesting thing. We'll see if we can get Leroy back here because I want to show this to you. As soon as Leroy comes back. Leroy. Leroy Jenkins. Come on, buddy. We might have to go solo. Uh-oh. Leroy lost his internet. Uh-oh. Well, that is what it is. You know, we can just have a cozy night for two. Cozy night for one, actually. Let's just do that. Let's do a cozy night for one. Let's get the big screen on here. What's going on, everybody? Got you in full screen mode. Good to have you. Let's watch this. Let's watch this video. I think that's what we should do. I want to get your opinions, and then I'll have it up right after. Good evening, Don't Unfriend Me Nation, episode 450. So let's get to it. Leroy's gonna come back on hopefully here in un momento, por favor. We'll find out. Let me get this thing fixed. Bam. Bam. Circle. Put it on black and white. Put you over here. Let's go black and white. And let's mirror the image. All right, here we go. One Friday night, feeling all right. It's Red Friday. Remember, everyone deployed red. I had my shirt on earlier. I had to work out, and I changed into this one. I'd have another one clean. It's laundry month. Sorry, folks. Listen, what are we talking about tonight? I don't know. This love for Vladimir Zelensky. He almost sounds like a vampire. Vladimir. He's kind of short for a vampire. He'd make great stormtrooper, though. Here's the thing. Did anyone get the reference? I hope you did. Please leave in the comments below. That was so well done. Stormtrooper, SS, Azov Battalion. Come on. All right. Whatever. If that doesn't get likes, that was off the cuff. Come on, folks. You know, let's bring this. What the hell happened to my camera? Good evening, Don't Unfriend Me Nation. Right. Episode 451, Friday night. Feeling all right. It's Red Friday. We'll put it into context. Almost a half century. I can start saying that now. Good evening, Don't Unfriend Me Nation. Please leave in the comments below. That was so well done. Stormtrooper, SS, Azov Battalion. Come on. All right, whatever. So the point I'm trying to make here is Vladimir Zelensky seems to be this new hero of the left. I guess Michael Avenatti is no longer available, but this is an interesting thing. I've never seen anything like this in all my years. And I've been on the planet for almost a half century. I can start saying that now. Stick with me tonight. I'm going to break it down for you. This doesn't seem like the party of hippies from 1970 that seem to be almost neocons. They want populism. They want global superiority. They want to go ahead and get involved in proxy wars and nation building. It's very strange. It almost seems like they're 2014 Republicans. Let's get back to it. There's a video I'm going to show you. The Republicans are taking 16 seconds of that, and that's a no-no. You've got to put it into context. I will put it into context for you, and it still sucks by Zelensky, but so you understand what's going on. I'll see you on the rebound in about minute and a half. We're going to listen to the Hodge twins and the intro to the show. Thank you, and I'll be right back. Hey. I'm the host of Don't Unfriend Me, and it is good to have you here. You can find hats, shirts, and coffee and all that over at thedumbshow.com. And while you're there, do me a favor. You can find our social media sites and our podcast. Follow, like, and share. We're on Monday through Friday on a recorded show like this one. And then we're live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8:30 across all social. Come by and see us. Say hello. Let's talk about this. Now, there was this video that I saw of Joe Biden, and no, not the one where he was stumbling and bumbling, talking about feeling up a nurse. I'm actually talking about the video that had Joe Biden applauding and lauding all over the place when he was in Ukraine in regards to Ukrainian flags everywhere. Now, I know there's parts of the country that have now teed off on this, and people are telling me all over, my city has Ukrainian flags. My city has Ukrainian flags. Listen, if you are a Ukrainian national who lives in the United States on a work visa, or if you're here and you're nationalized and you still throw up your flag during the Olympics or whatever, I don't care. That doesn't bother me, whatever. But if you're an American citizen and you're throwing up a Ukrainian flag over the American flag, or you bitched about the American flag, or you took a knee, or you've been disparaging it like a lot of liberals have, you've got some serious problems. And it frustrates me. When I heard this and saw this, my mouth hit the floor. Go ahead and watch this, and you tell me what you think.
All across my country, in big cities and small towns, Ukrainian flags fly from American homes.
Listen, and I travel all over, 4 states regularly. I haven't seen it. I have a lot of friends in Texas. I have a lot of friends, Virginia, Georgia, California, and I haven't heard this. Now, occasionally you'll see a flag out, but not to the extent he's saying. Now, there are a ton of merchandising opportunities all over with the yellow and blue, and there's just type in Ukrainian flag in Google and you'll see 1,000 shopping options, and everyone's changing their profile pics because that does a lot of good. It'll cure, once we cured cancer and ALS and made sure France was taken care of from a equality standpoint, hashtag equality, folks, it's time to move on to Ukraine. We just changed our picture. This war should be over any day now, but that's not real support. Support is when you go ahead and you take a flag of your country down and replace it with Ukraine. I'm confused. I don't understand. So I dug into it a little bit. And remember, this was the party of peace, love, dope. Isn't that what we heard in the 70s with the hippies? Now it's the party of proxy wars, unchecked spending, and loyalty to foreign countries. I also find it kind of ironic that they called the Vietnamese soldiers coming back baby killers. I mean, it's not a funny topic, but they kind of embraced that title over the last, 40, 50 years. But what's up with the loyalty to the foreign countries? Can you imagine flying Vietnamese flags in the Vietnam War, or Korean, Iraqi, Afghanistan? And maybe people who are from those countries, like I said, might go ahead and tout those flags. But these are open conflicts, and we saw really none of that from Ukraine. This is a proxy war. We sent Americans to those other wars. The U.S. has been involved in over 20 open and 26 secret proxy wars over the last 50 years. 16 of them were during the Obama administration. And none of those flags flew from our homes. We didn't change our profile pics. We didn't go ahead and have any of those leaders on the cover of Time or GQ. So why is Zelensky different? It's interesting. Well, we're told from the Democrats, and we're sold, that it's all about freedom and democracy. That freedom and democracy outside of the 2020 election and the 2022 midterms. Now that we've established that until 2024, and we have to reelect a Democrat, Joe Biden, or whoever they pop up in front of us, now it's Ukraine. But this is the party that locked us down during COVID, stood on our necks, wouldn't let us go to the beach, wouldn't let us paddle a boat, wouldn't let us see people who are dying in the hospital. Remember, this is about freedom and democracy. I want to break this down before we get to the Zelensky video, but the extent of the aid that the West has given Ukraine is, in fact, extraordinary. Western aid to Ukraine is equivalent to what the U.S. spent on average annually in Afghanistan between 2002 and 2020. And factored into today's prices, what it was on average spending annually on pursuing the Vietnam War. To put a figure on it, according to the Kyle Institute of the World Economy, the IFW, the West sent or promised $128 billion to Ukraine in the space of the last year. Another 22 is on the table now. Moreover, extraordinarily, Western aid to Ukraine is comparable with what Russia is spending on the invasion in its entirety. According to the British Ministry of Defense in December 22, Putin pledged around $140 billion for the war effort in 2023. That level of aid dwarfs the kind of aid the Chinese and Soviets sent to North Vietnam and the Viet Cong, by way of contrast. And that level of aid in turn was a mere fraction of what the U.S. was spending during the Vietnam War. Chinese aid during 1950 to 1970, much more significant than the Soviet aid for most of the period, annually averaged around 1/12 of the U.S. spending over the period of 1965 to 1975. It's interesting when you actually look at this. The Democrats are telling us that this money has to be spent. We have to make this a priority, not infrastructure, not food crises, not to ensure that the things that we look every single day that are important to us are veterans on the street, homeless people. Hell, Democrats used to care about insurance for everybody. Now it just seems they want to go ahead and force unconstitutional laws through and pay everyone's college debt for votes. But is there really anything that they're doing for the United States? Not when you're sending $150 billion to Ukraine. Here's the video of Zelensky. Now, this created some controversy. Marjorie Taylor Greene and a few other conservatives who frustrate me because they constantly do this, took Zelensky out of context. But just because he's in context doesn't make it any better. Essentially, it was a 16-second video that said all of your children belong to us. For video gamers, you'll understand what that reference means. All your bases belong to us. But that's really not what he said. What he was saying was, if we lose, this will happen. And unfortunately, that's not necessarily the case. I'll break it down for you in this video. Let's give it a watch and take a listen. I'll be commenting throughout.
Polls in the United States are suggesting that a growing number of Americans believe that the US is giving too much support to Ukraine. What would your message be on the anniversary?
Well, I'm one of them. I just broke down the numbers for you and to show you that the Afghan war had forward operating bases, had to have resupply, refueling, vehicle movements, troop movements, medical, ammunition, laser-guided bombs. Just the infrastructure from a support and frontline specific is ridiculous how much Afghanistan was costing us. And we're already spending and eclipsing that from Ukraine. It's insanity. This is a proxy war. This is something where we're supposed to give lethal military aid, but 160 billion, I want to see the receipts. And I think a lot of Americans are wising up and want to see it too. We're now in this a year. When will this end? What does victory look like? What is the exit strategy, as so many people want to know?
Those Americans. Thank you.
Does he own anything other than a tracksuit? Okay, never mind.
I would like to thank the American people. I would like to thank all of the American people.
Remember, folks, those thumbs up, those hearts, the laugh emojis, those continue to get this pushed out further. The more you click, the more it helps get this out. Share, like, and subscribe. Thanks.
Are supporting Ukraine. The Congress, the president, the TV channels, the journalists, and everyone that has been supporting us.
Okay, so I appreciate that. That's nice to hear, right? It's nice to get a thank you card for my hard-earned tax. So it's interesting. Karen says, I want to see the figures of the EU who is chipped in. United States is number 1. Norway is number 2. Can you believe that? Norway is number 2. And then from there, it's pittance. So United States and Norway are putting more dollars into this than any other country. It's dollars, but I didn't have a choice. You know, it's really not it. There's really nothing you can say to me. If you come in and rob me and pick my pockets clean and take my mother's china and my father's firearms that he gave me, and then write me a thank you note and say, thank you so much. That's not quite the same thing. This isn't about charitable contribution. We tried that. You saw how many people provided aid, how many private gun companies provided ammunition and firearms. We did that. That's what he should be thanking people for. But to thank the American taxpayer for the government ripping us off and spending the money the way they want to and not what's in the best interest of America, no need to thank me for that, man. Just keep picking my pockets and taking my wallet. And you can actually take the picture of the wife and kids. They're yours too. You own them as well.
And that percentage of Americans, as you've mentioned, is increasing. I can tell them only one thing. If they do not change their opinion, if they do not understand us, if they do not support Ukraine, they will lose NATO, they will lose.
Okay, so this is one of the biggest conundrums that you will see when people are making declarative statements. I think the Latin phrase is post hoc ergo propter hoc, which essentially in Latin, if I quoted that correctly, I may have mucked it up. Someone could check it for me. If I did, give me 2 points because I don't look like that type of guy. But essentially what it means is because of A, B happens. So it would be like you saying, I drove out of my driveway and a rabbit crossed my road. 20 minutes later, I got into a car wreck. That rabbit caused my accident. One has nothing to do with the other. And what he's saying is that if we lose to Russia, immediately we're going to be forced into the war because of NATO. And that's not necessarily true. We don't know what Putin's going to do if he gets Ukraine. He may just go back and go to the drawing table. He may go ahead and take those eastern areas of Ukraine that are predominantly Russian and then call good. We don't know. And for him to say this is an open threat. It's a fallacy argument. And he's putting context in it, which is saying this needs to happen or else. So when CNN and everyone else comes on and just took that 12 seconds there, they're right. CNN is right. It was out of context. But even in context, it's still incontrovertibly a threat. He's saying, if you don't, this will happen.
The clout of the United States, they will lose the leadership position that they are enjoying in the world, that they are enjoying for a very fair reason, and they will.
Globalism, folks. If you don't, you won't be. The United States, if you don't support Ukraine, if you don't support our country, you will lose your clout and your position in the United States. What are the size of the balls on this guy? For a 5'3" guy, he has to have balls that are at least 12 inches in diameter each. How incredible is this? If we don't support Ukraine, the United States will crumple and fall. And then you'll send your sons and daughters to die like ours.
Lose the support of the country with 40 million of population, with millions of children. Are American children any different than ours?
Yes, they're American. I hate to say it, folks. I'm done with the kid gloves. Listen, if we truly want to make that comparative analysis, then we got to care about the Congo. We've got to care about Kenya. We've got to care about the Uyghurs in China, because there are a hell of a lot more deaths in other areas of the country than Ukraine. So if that's what it's about, if it's about life, well, then let's go back to the 67 million babies that have been aborted. If that's what it's about, then let's focus on that. Let's talk about gun violence in democratic cities. Because that's the problem, folks. Yes, it matters. I feel for the Ukrainian people, but that is the Ukrainian problem. And if we want to provide weapons for a short term, fine, we've done that. But how long, once again, does this last? But now when you've got this guy talking about nuclear weapons, you've got the guy talking about crossing into Poland or getting into the Baltics and bringing NATO involved. That's World War III. This guy says World War III more than Putin. This guy constantly hangs that over the United States' head. I don't like Russia. I don't like Ukraine either. And that's okay. It's not a binary choice. Why do we have to choose one or the other?
Americans enjoy the same things as we do. I don't think we're that different. And I'm actually very happy that we have bipartisan support, but we keep
you don't have bipartisan support.
Hearing those messages from time to time, and they're dangerous. There are political leaders that are elected by people, and if this issue is raised, those political leaders need to be responsible and cautious, because people are looking at them. Who wants a third world war? Would anyone risk? Would anyone be willing to accept that risk?
And that's it. Either help Ukraine or there's a World War III. That's the message.
The U.S. is never going to give up on the NATO member states. If it happens so that Ukraine, due to various opinions and weakening and depleting of assistance, loses, Russia is going to enter Baltic states, NATO member states.
He doesn't know that. Listen, the thing you need to know about Zelensky is if you're going to compare it to Russia, they are ahead of Russia as far as moving towards I guess what people would call a democracy, representative democracy, and a republic, but not by much. The crime element, the state-run media, the money laundering, the drugs, the issues that they have in certain sections and provinces of Ukraine. Come on, let's be honest. This isn't freaking France, folks. Okay, this isn't Sweden or Norway. Ukraine is a corrupt country, and they have been. Hence why they're not in NATO. They were told, you know what, you need to go sit in the corner for 10 years and get your shit together, and then maybe you can come in and sit at the big boys table. This is all projection. He's assuming. And I'm not saying give Putin positive intent. What I'm saying is don't listen to declarative statements like this that are all based in conjecture and supposition, because Vladimir Putin, of all the things that he does, Vladimir Putin has not shown any transgression or aggression against the Baltic states or NATO. In fact, the opposite on purpose, because he knows it's going to get him slapped.
And then the U.S. will have to send their sons and daughters exactly the same way as we are sending their sons and daughters to war.
How, dude, that right there, is it any better? Does it sound better? Listen, I got to give Republicans credit. That's what he said. It doesn't matter what he said before, after, and what he said was, you're going to have to send your, Larry, stop spreading shit that isn't true. This is the problem. You take a little bit of truth and then you make it a complete lie by saying something that isn't accurate. Putin did not say he's going to invade Poland. A military ally, an anonymous source, has quoted as saying Putin is mad at Poland and wants to invade Poland. So how many times do we hear that about Donald Trump? A White House correspondent, a White House senior official, P-tapes, Russian collusion, Michael Avenatti. Come on, man. Come on, man. I'm not saying that Putin's a good dude. Okay? I'm not saying that. But all signs him leading into Poland, no. Stop buying into that. Now, when he gets on and sits on the pulpit, and if he's done this in the last 24 hours, maybe I'm wrong. You can show me. But everything I know is that it was an official and not Putin who supposedly said that. And until it comes out of his mouth, until he says it, you're spreading bullshit. You're fear-mongering in my channel. Knock it off. You know better. I don't tolerate that crap. I don't want that crap in my channel. Take it somewhere else or just stop doing it. Because I don't care who you are. If you make shit up in this channel, I'm going to call you out. He didn't say that. He didn't say it. So when he does, I'll go ahead and I'll back you up. Until then, please stop the World War III and all this other bullshit. It doesn't help a thing, and it's not accurate. Children to die with Ukrainians if you don't give me more money. You can sugarcoat it any way you want. You can spell it out. You can put lipstick on a pig. But why are you surprised when a pig grunts? And that's all this guy's doing is grunting. He's been doing this. He gave us his laundry list of weapon systems that he wanted. We've given him everything we've wanted. We've had our flags. We've sent our Congress. We've sent representatives over there. We've sent delegations over there. We have put him in the United States. We allowed him to drape a flag with Nancy Pelosi and Kamala Harris on the frickin' Senate floor. This guy has gotten more support from the United States than just about any other ally that we were not fighting against a global enemy. It's ridiculous. We're not on the ground. We haven't declared war. This isn't even a conflict. This is a proxy. And we're treating him like literally it's us and Ukraine to go ahead and lead the world. This is not a bedfellow that Carmen says Poland is already dividing up Ukraine. Struggling with their divvying, huh? Divvying up. I saw you said diving, then dividing. Please tell me how. Please tell me which portions of Ukraine that Poland has annexed. Let me know. Please tell me. Shannon, I've already listened to it. That's how I knew it was an advisor. Please let me know. Everyone's saying Poland is dividing up Ukraine. Please tell me which areas of Ukraine have been annexed and are now a part of Poland's sovereign nation. Please tell me. I'll wait for you to tell me. We should be supporting. We should, if you want to run a proxy, fine. I don't have any problem with that. If you believe that they're the lesser of two evils, but you're getting in bed and laying down with some very questionable people in a country that is very questionable compared to the United States. But remember, this is the Democratic Party that said the same thing about North Korea, the same thing about Russia, the same thing about China, the same thing about Iran. But immediately when Donald Trump gets in office, every one of those countries is our enemy and we can't talk to them, we can't play with them, but we can talk about Syria, we can talk about Crimea, we can talk about the reset button with Russia. Democrats play this game. When Republicans try to make nice and stop global conflicts like this or proxies, Donald Trump did it for 4 years and they chastised and condemned and called him a warmonger. The only warmongers that I'm seeing in the last 15 years in the White House are Democrats, period, full stop.
They will have to fight because it's NATO that we're talking about, and they will be dying, God forbid, because it's a horrible thing. I would like to thank all of the American people that are supporting Ukraine, the Congress, the president, the
press,
TV
media
channels, the journalists.
I've already looked it up, Larry. Please show me a direct quote by Putin, and please send the link in chat. Direct quote, where Putin stood up on the pulpit and said, we're going to war with Ukraine, or with Poland. Putin declares war on Poland. Ukraine war, Ukraine. Vladimir Zelensky says Russian aggression could spill into Poland. Why Vladimir Putin is angry at Poland. From a Kremlin official. How the Russian-Ukraine crisis is turning Poland into a strategic player. I don't know what you're talking about. Show me where, I don't care what a military official from Russia says. I want to hear it straight from Putin that he said he's invading Poland. I also want to hear which territory of Ukraine Poland has now annexed and it's under their sovereign country. Please tell me. I'm still waiting for those answers. Don't say stuff in my chat unless it's true. Don't even play that. Because just like I'm going to come after the Republicans that took this 16-second video of Zelensky and added no context to it, and they should have played more because it's damning in itself, you don't get to do that either. I hate when people do more research. Dude, I do this 80 hours a week. How much more research would you like me to do? I hate when people do that. It's so demeaning. You're assuming that I haven't been involved for 2.5 years every day, focused on all of these type of things, to say, do your research. Because there is no quote from Vladimir Putin saying we're invading Poland. You just said World War III was going to happen because he's already declared that he's going into Poland. Where is that quote? Show it to me.
And everyone
the
that
money
has
launderers,
been supporting us.
The big guy and his 10%. Listen, it's crap. Once again, I'm not for it. I'm not against it. I'm not for Ukraine. I'm not against Ukraine. When it comes to Russia, I made it my opinion about them 20 years. I don't get my information from American sources either. And Beth makes a good point, but it doesn't mean that I don't watch and read all sources. Vladimir Putin most assuredly has not said he's going into Poland. That is a complete fabrication. To go in the military. And if you remember the guy who sat here and said that if anything happens to turn this into a full-scale NATO World War III, it would be because Poland gets involved. I've said that. So why would you think that I wouldn't be watching that like a hawk? That I wouldn't be looking for that? Because I'm the one who's been saying that. Everyone else said it was going to be the Baltics, that it was going to be Moldova, I've always said it's going to be Poland. So if I've always said that, then why would I not know or research the fact if he said we're going into Poland and I didn't pull the chicken switch? Right, exactly. But the United States no longer needs to be the world police. And honestly, that's what Democrat economic policies are premised on. And the notion that America is really an unfair place where the rich white people steal from the poor people, the people of color. Democrats like Senator Elizabeth Warren have called for widespread wealth confiscation in the pursuit of economic justice. What's going to happen when you do that? Send more money to Ukraine? Remember, these are the people that said that the American flag was oppressive, who took a knee in front of it, who supported this type of rhetoric. But when a country like Ukraine needs us, it's all about the red, white, and blue and stars and bars and democracy. It's so prosthetic, it's DuPont. In fact, Democrats went so far as to pass a COVID relief bill that gives some forms of COVID relief only to people of color, denying funding to white farmers and business owners in need. You remember this? Courts struck it down, and they said that they were racist policies. It may come as a shock to Democrats in swing states like Arizona, New Hampshire, even Virginia now, Georgia. But when your party keeps bashing America as racist and it's a hellhole and its flag is a symbol of hate and oppression, voters eventually are going to notice. They'll be tempted to conclude that being part of the Democratic Party that's pushed this anti-patriotism says something about the politicians who are members. And they'll cast their votes in 2024 accordingly. In the past, Republicans tried to label Democrats as unpatriotic, using issues like the war on terror as political wedges. Not this time. Saying Democrats don't like America isn't an accusation anymore. It's quoting them accurately. It's not a smear for some right-wing talk host. It's the front page of the New York Times, CNN, and every person on weekend pundit talk shows. Maybe, just maybe, Americans will finally wake up. And it doesn't mean we don't have to support Ukraine. Doesn't mean we have to hate Russia. Maybe there's a fine line in between that we help and give assistance, but we take them off life support because that's truly what we're doing, and there's no end in sight. There is, however, an end to my bank account, which is already suffering because of inflation and Joe Biden's economy. We can't afford to keep doing this. We need to think about the home front before we think about the affronts. Folks, thank you so much for watching Don't Unfriend Me tonight. If you liked the show, great. If you didn't, well, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe next time it'll be better. Give it a chance. Let me know. Go to @TheDumbShow across all social media. You can type that into Google and it'll pull up all the places that I'm at, over 16 different podcasts. It comes down to this, is that I am not a fan of Vladimir Zelensky. And I'm not a fan because the guy he's a stooge. He's a stooge. And he sucks up to every single country that opens up their checkbook, and he's on a fundraising mission. That's it. It's like Jerry's Kids for Ukrainians. I'm not a big fan of him. Not a big fan of Vladimir Putin either. I don't like Russia. Never have liked Russia. Russians scare the shit out of me because they throw away life like it's nothing. It's like the old days when you would send in the Moors and the Saxons, and the Moors would throw bodies so high that they would navigate through the moats and copses and climb the castle walls and the dead bodies of their brethren because they would just continue to throw more and more. When the Persians did this, there were no breaching apparatuses or siege machines. It was simply the bodies of as many people and slaves as they could throw at the walls. That's Russia. A lot of people have no idea how many Russians died in World War II. A lot of people don't know how many Russians have died over the last 100 years. Go look it up. Some people say, a couple 100,000, couple million. Yeah, you're about 32 million short just for WW2 alone. Russia hasn't changed its spots. Russia is not the same country it used to be, but it never was. It was all bubblegum and Rust-Oleum spray paint to make their military look stronger. And the arms race has crippled them. And they are in no way, shape, or form prepared to run a war of this magnitude for very much longer. They have a huge opportunity. And nobody's talking about peace. Everyone's talking about more money. What happened to peace talks? What happened to Donald Trump's way of getting involved with Muslim countries and trying to bring peace in the Middle East? What about brokering peace with North Korea, who was never had a stage before? And some people disagree, or even giving credence to the Taliban. However, it did create peace. But when they did start flexing their muscles and talking about war, Donald Trump was right there and said, we'll rain hellfire on you guys if you screw around with us. There's a time for scorched earth, and then there's a time for let's try to sow some seeds. Now, I'm not asking anyone to go in there and beg for Putin's forgiveness or try to get on his good side. In fact, I completely condemn that. In fact, sanctions should be put on him for at least the next 2 decades and throttle his income as much as humanly possible. Fine. But if Joe Biden actually wants to do something, perhaps he could take the advantages of Ukraine trying to emulate the United States and get out of their corrupt ways. And Russia, who although doesn't love the United States, does admire them from an adversarial standpoint, where Joe Biden could somehow maybe win a Nobel Peace Prize if he could put 2 fucking sentences together to generate some sort of peace talks and send somebody over there other than Kamala Harris who couldn't put 2 sentences together except her saying, "Do you want me on my back or my knees?" That was a low blow. Matt, you're everywhere, kind of like ectoplasm and Ghostbusters. I don't know what that means. I think I've been very strategic and I've stayed very, very linear in my conversation. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. But that's okay. Very seldom do I understand what everyone's saying. Matt, didn't he murder some innocent Russian people that didn't want to be involved with stuff between Vladimir and Putin, just wanted to stay on land in Ukraine? I don't know. I don't know. I've heard stories. I've heard stories that they were putting people in detention or penal colonies who weren't serving, that people who fled were turned around on the border. I don't know. Well, how do we treat draft dodgers? Don't we put them in prison? I don't know if I have a problem with that, but if it's murder and all, I don't know. But I can look at what he does in Donbass, and I can look at what he has done to the people who have turned with Russia and the revolt that's happening there. There's nothing good about it. Vladimir Zelensky has been caught many times propagandizing this war through the state media. They're still state media just as bad as Russia's state media. Like I said, I don't like either of them. You're not going to get me to defend Ukraine. You're not going to get me to defend Russia. What I have a problem with is $150 billion and turning off Afghanistan for a couple of months and then right back into it. We're now spending more money. Why? We have been at war for freaking 40 years. Enough. We're done. We should be done, but we're not. We're leaning into it. Matt, did you see that Laura Logan interview? She had a lot of dirt on Zelensky. Yeah, I did. Everyone has dirt on Zelensky. Everyone has dirt on Putin. The problem is why are Americans making a binary choice here? Why is it that this isn't a fucking sports team? It's not the Zelensky Zebras and the Putin freaking Papua New Guinea platypuses. Okay? It's 2 countries that have absolutely no influence on the United States whatsoever from an economic standpoint or military standpoint whatsoever. The biggest thing that they do is imports and exports that we have to worry about and how they impact the ag market, how they impact the fertilizer market and energy. That's about it. And we can do all that with sanctions, and we can do all that with import-export taxes and tariffs and negotiations and contracts. We don't need to be supplying Ukraine with anything. I don't like the fact that Russia went into Ukraine. I think it was a stupid move by Putin. I think it was dumb. I think he got sick and tired of kissing the world's ass. And he ultimately said, they're going to go in the UN and then I'm going to be completely screwed. The amount of territory that they would have to defend with Ukraine border being added to the rest of Russia, they would be completely outnumbered and surrounded by NATO. I'm sorry. That is... If someone decided to go do that with Saskatchewan or Toronto or Edmonton or Alberta and Russia decided, trust me, one of those provinces, we're going to flip our shit. They did it with Cuba and we almost went to World War III over it. Imagine somebody saying you are now surrounded by NATO who believes that you are the biggest threat to European peace as much as Iran is to Iranian peace or Middle Eastern peace. That's a pretty big, serious thing. You're despised and hated by a lot because that's what NATO was designed for, was to throttle Europe. Throttle Russia, to not influence and stop a blitzkrieg from Russia into Europe. The same thing that the Nazis did into France. So I don't know what to tell you. But even if Zelensky is the biggest dirtbag in the world, and even if Vladimir Putin is a parish priest, or a parishioner or a pope, And vice versa, I still don't want to be giving them $150 billion a year. I have no desire. And my money should not go to Ukraine. My money should go to the people in the United States. If you're going to tax the shit out of me, then ensure that our roads and bridges are fixed. Ensure that our airports are safe. Ensure that farmers have enough water. Ensure that that our ports are secure. Take care of our border. Focus on infrastructure. Folks, focus on getting internet for free for the entire United States, because it should be. It's flipping a switch. That's all it is. The fiber optics laid. The United States government has the ability to lease out these lines. Give internet free for the US. Do what Steve Jobs wanted to do. Whatever. Take 1% of all the profit of all the big tech companies, ask them to get a tax write-off, and go ahead and provide the leasing for all the fiber optic in the country. And then have Elon Musk go ahead and bring Starlink to the United States for any of the rural areas and provide free internet for the US. That's what $150 billion can get you. And then you want to see what happens to education. You want to see what happens to people who are impoverished, who don't have the ability to have internet. There's so many things we could be doing. And none of this is bleeding heart shit. All boats rise at high tide. The person who's a multimillionaire getting free internet is just as profound as the person who has no money getting free internet. It's internet. And it gives everyone in the world a library card. Why not? There's so much more we can be doing with $150 billion. We could fund every kid in America to go to trade schools based upon what we've spent in the last 40 years on wars. We could give a trade school and a job, air conditioning, plumbing, woodworking, crane operator, whatever, to ensure that kids aren't having to make $15 an hour and we have to raise the minimum wage, that they can make $150,000 working on the docks in Long Beach or Jersey. There are so many things that we can do with this money. And it's not about being a bleeding heart. If you're going to spend it anyway, well, that's where Republicans should come in. Limit the amount of government spending and bring it back into the private sector. If you're going to steal it from us anyway, at least apply it to the right place so it doesn't feel like you bent us over with a rhinoceros up the ass. Give us some options with school. Give us some options with education. Give us more tax breaks when it comes to starting our own businesses. Stop predatory lending on our kids. Yes, I agree with it. It needs to end. So instead of giving away free college and literally just touching 7% of the freaking college tuition in the United States today, and then tomorrow it literally stack up again on the same people you just forgave $10,000 to, that is the most ridiculous and dumb thing I've ever said or seen. That's like you going with a pail to the ocean and scooping out some water and sticking it in a little moat that you make out of sand and saying that you made a difference emptying the ocean. If you want to stop college predatory lending, you need to change the law. You don't need to put a Band-Aid on cancer. But I could sit up here and talk about this all night. The money going into Ukraine is not for freedom and democracy. That's not what it's about. It never has been about that. Afghanistan wasn't about freedom and democracy. Iraq wasn't about freedom and democracy. Russia and Ukraine is not about freedom and democracy. It's about war. And war is the basis for any governmental system and economy, is that they build up for war. That's it. And a weapon not being used is a useless weapon. And we believe that instead of finding a way to work with our adversaries like Donald Trump did for 4 years, and didn't give up any ground whatsoever in public opinion, in fact, had the world respect us again, did not throw money at the problem, but had tough conversations and used enough force with a baseball bat behind his back to get the result. Democrats believe throw money at the problem, and if the money doesn't solve it, throw weapons. That is what Obama did for 8 years. It's now what Biden's going to do for 4. And if you put another Democrat in office, it's going to happen for another 4. That's what it's about. Vietnam was about money. Korea was about, you can say, oh, stop the threat of communism. In Vietnam, in Laos, Indochina, right, but China wasn't a big concern, right? China wasn't a big concern with its 1.7 billion people. Give me a break. More has been done with the threat to stop communism than just about anything else. And I'm terrified of communism. I think communism is horrible, but This isn't 1950. It's not 1960. It's not 1970 and 1980. The threat of communism is not going to stand in America. The amount of socialists that are here today inside this country are definitely more than they used to be. But you also had different types of people. You had Marxists, you had progressives, you had the Saul Alinsky style people, you had the anarchists. Most of them have matriculated into socialist progressives. And it's grown. And there is a very big struggle with anti-patriotic sentiment in the United States and people who are focused on free shit, which they believe leads to socialism. And it isn't. People condemned capitalism because they don't understand it. People want to get what they haven't earned. People want an easy ride. As water chooses the path of least resistance, Americans do too. It wasn't always so. In fact, people would find a way to do more work or push harder and not sit there and complain and worry about what was going on next door or their neighbor. They would simply focus on themselves and the betterment of who they were, and understanding that the more repetition and the more work you do, the more prolific you get at it and the more value you have to your company. Now it's, I have value because I simply want it. And that's not the way the world works. This is the way Zelensky thinks. Because Russia attacked me, you owe me. You owe me. There used to be something called being the survival of the fittest. This country rose and fell with plenty of countries not getting involved in conflicts and staying out of it on purpose. Not every conflict needs the United States in it. And if it does, then why the fuck do we have NATO? But I'm just a podcaster. What do I know? All right, everybody. Hey, Mean Guru J Bangla, ban that guy, Amy. Yep, I got the information on that, Kristen, that Joe Biden had a lesion removed in February, and it was cancerous, is my understanding. Now, we don't know if it was precancerous. We don't know if this was a melanoma or whatever it's called, a form of skin cancer. Melanoma, right? I'm too tired. Whatever. I'm not going to get into cancers. I don't know enough about it. It's not in the family. It comes down to this: is he's freaking 80 years old. Of course, he's going to have some issues. And good. I'm glad it's not full-fledged cancer, and I'm glad they got it, and I'm glad it's out. Good. Great rant, Matt. Well said. Thanks, Ross. I pray we don't fall like Rome. We are going to fall like. Listen, folks. Every empire falls. It's a matter of time. But the Greeks are still here. The Romans are still here. The Persians are still here. The Russians are still here. The Japanese are still here. The English are still here. Empires fall. But it's not the way it used to be. That's what makes the United States extremely unique, is that our power is divided amongst many different people, and almost anybody can get a voice in the United States, any foreign country. And diplomacy usually will get us where we want to go. But if we continue to fund these proxy wars, you're encouraging bigger countries to have someone get in a conflict with us and run a proxy against us. And logistically, Russia can't help us, but they can't hurt us, but they certainly could with China's backing, with Iran's backing, with Pakistan's backing. And if enough countries decide to join up and logistically hit us from multiple oceans, that's going to put a damper on us. If the Germans and the Japanese hit us simultaneously on both coasts, we would have been in some serious shit. I just want you to think about that. If you haven't seen the show, The Man in High Castle, go give it a watch. It's on Amazon. And it's a very interesting show. It has a little bit of Lost in it, but it's if Japanese invaded into the West Coast and Germans got to the East Coast, and you had essentially a divided Eastern seaboard, Western seaboard, and then the middle of the free America, the Rockies. And it goes to this amazing show that what if Hitler won? And then there were multiple parallel universes in this show where film was being released of Statue of Liberty and American Glory and barbecue hot dogs and lemonade. And people are like, what is this? This is propaganda. And they're like, oh my God. And then one of them sees themselves in this old 8mm film, and it's her. And she's an American. And she's like, holy shit, this is real. And this, if you haven't seen A Man in High Castle, give it a watch. It is absolutely fantastic. I think melanoma. Thank you. Skin cancer. He doesn't have cancer. Yes, Matt, melanoma is skin cancer. Skin, not slim, damn phone. America is broke. The Afghanistan is still here. Cancerous growth was removed, not one that spreads through. Okay. You should listen to Yoni Parks, who escaped North Korea. Listening to her will make you cry. I think I've already listened to her. In fact, I think I did a show on her a while ago, and I think I have. Let me know. America is broke. Only thing left is destruction. Let me be clear. China, Russia, and Iran still don't have the capability to sustain a ground war in the United States. Nobody does. If the entire world wanted against the United States, you just don't understand logistically. You got to nuke our soil in order to go ahead and take the United States, and nobody's going to do that. Yeah. Thomas says, so if the Japanese had waited a year until Germany had taken Great Britain and then hit us, yeah, I think the United States would be in some trouble, because remember, we were supplying textile, mercantile, and building tanks and planes at a rapid rate. But from a military standpoint, we were not a powerhouse. We did not have the largest military in the world. I think we were something like 17th, 22nd in the world as far as military size. And then that all changed in a period of years with the amount of money that we could just create, from war bonds to how rich the United States was. And we really became a military industrial complex. That's what won World War II. Everyone's like, oh, it's why we won World War II. It's because we were able to make weapons faster than anyone else. And you had plenty of Brits and French and everybody else who wanted to participate. But you're right. I believe that. If Japan would have waited a year to hit and ensured that GB fell and the United States didn't get involved in Great Britain, I most assuredly think that we would at least have some portions of the United States speaking Japanese or eating sauerkraut at this point. It's predominantly Hawaii and maybe upstate Delaware, New Hampshire areas, the northern part of the United States. You don't want to fight a two coastal war. And the United States didn't have the military. But that's a whole other conversation. We're not going to do it tonight. U.S. Navy versus Chinese navies. What's your thoughts? They're really boosting their new subs. United States Navy would destroy the Chinese Navy in a matter of weeks. Their Navy's bigger than ours. Doesn't matter. Our technology we've mastered 240 some odd years of mastering the ocean. The United States are as prolific as the Vikings were in their days. The United States has the greatest Navy in the world. Even though it's gotten soft and even though this and that, we are still a superior force, and our anti-submarine warfare is much more effective than China's. Yeah. Don't worry about that. China doesn't want to take over the world. They want to own the economy. They want to own the money. That's what China wants. Folks, I love having you on. I appreciate having you on. Do me a favor. Somebody go over to the Don't Unfriend Me store. Go take a look. We've got a bunch of cool stuff, and you can see the store. It's thedumbshow.com. You get shirts, you can get hats, you can listen to the podcast, watch the older videos. I'm going to get this video up as soon as I can for you so you guys can go ahead and like it. Please take a look out for it before you go to bed tonight. Come back in about 30 minutes and click, share, like, subscribe on the video for me. But stop by thedumbshow.com. I've got a blog there, video. It's a cool site. Go take a look. You can go peruse, and then maybe you can find something you really like. I mean, we've got long sleeves now. We've got hoodies. We've got the Don't Unfriend Me coffee back, hats, bumper stickers. We got everything. So go take a look, go buy something, have some fun. Use some of that great money from the capitalistic country that we are. Good night, everybody. I'm going to go out with a veteran crisis hotline like I always do. I might see you this weekend. I might not. Honestly, I'm going to take off. God bless and have a good one. See you soon, y'all.
I'm David Boreanaz with the Cast of SEAL team, and we have an important message for returning vets.
We want you to know if you're struggling to cope, there's help and it's just a phone call away.
The Veterans Crisis Line is staffed with experienced professionals who know your struggles. There's no greater sacrifice in service to our country. We're able to enjoy our freedoms because of it.
Your service is important. You are important. For vets and their families, the Veterans Crisis Line is here to help 24 hours a day. Please call.
Thanks, Mikey. Have a good night, buddy.